It's heritage.
A special time for Prestonians.
It's once every 20 years.
It's unique.
It's a force to be reckoned with.
It's great food.
It's about looking good and feeling great.
It's more than just 90 minutes. It's a grand day out.
It's a once-in-a-generation celebration.
It's for everyone.
It's vintage and it's Preston Guild 2012.
There is this terrific tradition that's inbred into people, into Prestonians, that the Preston Guild is special. And of course they would come. They've come to the processions and they've joined in everything else that's we've had during the week, because Preston Guild is very special to people, and we hope that will continue.
Welcome to Preston Guild 2012, a celebration of Preston, its people, history, traditions and all the very best Preston has to offer. In 2012, Preston celebrated 10 years as a city and 833 years of Guild history, with processions, balls, exhibitions, workshops, music, arts, sports, street parties, all the bells and whistles and much, much more, culminating in an ultimately awe-inspiring extravaganza. A once-in-a-generation celebration.
We've been planning for well over 3 years now for the Guild, but obviously in the few weeks that run up to the Guild, the planning intensifies, and you hope, you feel the weight of history, and this thing has happened for hundreds of years, and you want it to be a success for the people of Preston.
Preston Guild is an ancient and unique celebration with a history stretching back to 1179, which is about 10 to 12, isn't it? When King Henry II granted Preston a royal charter. Members of the Guild merchant known as burgesses were groups of traders, craftsmen and merchants who had a monopoly of trade in the town. Burgesses had to swear loyalty to the mayor and Guild merchant in the Guild court and keep to its rules and quality standards. This right was passed down from father to son and occasionally from master craftsman to apprentice. The Guild courts were held on an irregular basis for nearly 400 years. It was agreed that they were needed only once a generation, and so the 20-year cycle began. The only change to this cycle was the postponement of the Guild of 1942 to 1952 because of a little thing called the Second World War. It is this once-a-generation celebration that created a national saying, once every Preston Guild, meaning a rare and special event. Over the centuries, it became an auspicious social occasion of feasting, processions and influential gatherings. While many towns and cities once had merchant guilds, Preston is the only city or town which still celebrates the calling of the Guild Court. The advent of free trade removed the need for a merchant guild altogether, but by then the celebrations of the Great Preston Guild were precious to the people, and so they continued to develop and flourish right up to 2012. There is a long tradition of Preston Guild keepsakes, souvenirs and collectibles stretching back over the centuries, and you can still see examples of these today in the Harris Museum and Art Gallery. In 2012, the collection included 3 distinct collections: a traditional range, a contemporary collection and an extra special Guilds Gone By range. The role of Mayor of Preston is always a prestigious one, but to be the Guild Mayor is the highest honour that the city can bestow. The role is one of public prominence and dignity as the Guild Mayor takes centre stage for many civic and ceremonial events, many steeped in history and tradition.
Okay. It's to present to you the Right Worshipful, the Guild Mayor of Preston, Councillor Carl Crompton.
In May 2012, Councillor Carl Crompton was sworn in to the esteemed role of 29th Guild Mayor, accepting the mayoral chains and keys to the city. As the first Guild Mayor of the 21st century, he vowed to play his part in making it a guild like no other. And he certainly didn't disappoint.
The guild making ceremony was unbelievable. And the worst part was actually sat in here waiting to see if you actually got it. When the councillors made their decision and they voted, and then you're escorted in and they're all stood up clapping you in, and you go through the ceremony. It's very, very touching. It fetches a tear to your eye, actually. It's unbelievable. I just can't explain how you feel at that particular time when everybody's there stood watching you, and you've got to go through the ceremony of having the keys to the town hall given to you, your official keys to the guild hall, your staff, your seal, the chain. When that went on, that was a pinnacle, and it's truly is unbelievable.
During Guild Week itself, there were 2 civic processions to the Minster. The first, attended by the Archbishop of York, was for a service of dedication to the Guild. The second was a Thanksgiving service for the Guild and all the people who had contributed to such a memorable celebration, but also looked forward to the Guild of 2032. The 3 formal Guild proclamations link 21st century Preston to its medieval past before the days of the internet or even newspapers. On the 3 Saturdays before the Guild Court, crowds gathered on the Flag Market to hear Lorraine Norris, Chief Executive of Preston City Council and the first ever female clerk of the Guild, read the unchanged ancient wording to proclaim to the crowds that the Guild will be held, and called upon the burgesses to attend the Guild Court to renew their status.
The particular role of the Guild Clerk is to read the 3 proclamations, which are the 3 announcements made in the 3 Saturdays before the Guild 10 days begins. And then there are the 2 Guild Court sittings, which is the Guild Court itself and then the adjourned Guild Court. And all of those things involve reading the ancient text of the proclamations, and in particular the Guild Court involves reading every name of every burgess that has returned to the court to register their interest in the court, and there are quite a lot of them. I couldn't tell you how many, but there were 27 pages of names to read out.
Officials carrying precious civic regalia and local dignitaries surrounded the Guild Mayor in his full ceremonial robes. Each proclamation had its own unique theme, with each one building up the excitement. The first community-themed event presented the Guild Anthem, a piece of music especially written for Guild 2012. The second proclamation was a celebration of our armed forces. Servicemen and women took part in a tri-service parade that included cadets, veterans and serving regulars who escorted the Paralympic flame through Preston. Later that day, the arrival of the Paralympic flame marked the opening of the Preston Military Show. Despite the atrocious weather, visitors took the opportunity to get inside Fulwood Barracks and find out more about the work of the armed forces. Attention! The third and final proclamation was the official start of the Guild Week celebrations. The Guild Anthem was once again performed before the Guild Mayor received the Guild Scrolls of Friendship from homegrown Olympic athlete Helen Clitheroe and fellow members of the Preston Harriers Athletics Club. Scrolls of Friendship are, by Guild standards, a more recent tradition dating from 1952. Helen had sent the scrolls off a year earlier on their journey around the world to gather messages and warm wishes from ex-Prestonians from distant shores. The traditional paper scrolls are contained within wooden models of the old town hall. These containers or emblems are carved from wood salvaged from the embers of Preston's old town hall that burned to the ground in 1947. As 2012 was also the first Guild of the digital age, online scrolls were made available at guildscrolls.com, extending an invitation to friends of Preston, old and new, to share goodwill messages with text, photographs and video.
Scrolls are going to be taken around the world by volunteers and signed by, well, first and foremost from ex-Preston people who have emigrated, and then from other people around the world, anybody who wants to send a message really to support the Guild. So it's really great to be part of the celebration and to be the person to hand the scrolls on.
The actual processions were unbelievable. We weren't given any insight to the size of the processions and how many people were in. We just sat on the viewing platform of the up. And when they started up, these processions were like 2.5, 3 hours long, and thousands of people. And they're so energetic all the way through. And when you think how far they've walked, they must have walked about 3 or 4 miles by the time they finished going through the whole of Preston. And the crowds around were 4 or 5 people deep down Fishergate and Friargate. It was so well organised.
Processions have been an integral part of Preston Guild since the Guild of 1842, and the 4 processions of Guild 2012 were must-see events.
It's something you look forward to, every 20 years, isn't it?
Guilds have always been very important to me. My father was born at Guild Week in 1902, so the Guild has always been special for that reason. But I've been in 4, and well, I'll be 94 at the next one, so we're hoping to still be in that one, but whether the rest of the band will be available is very doubtful.
As the origins of the Merchant Guild lie in the development of trade, the Trades Procession has always been a key event. The Trades Procession of 2012 was enjoyed by a crowd of 25,000 people watching over 100 individual floats and vehicles, and nearly 3,000 walkers parade the streets in a lively celebration of Preston's industries, businesses and public services. Giant armchairs, vegetables and a crowd of Harley-Davidsons fought for attention alongside some quite well-known faces. Preston's very own Nick Park, creator of Wallace and Gromit, was proud to be represented in a float created by the Parks Department at Preston City Council. Nick Park. See what we did there?
It's incredibly an incredible honour because I am a Prestonian through and through. Even though I don't live here, my family are all here, and I come up here quite a lot. And I have always felt very proud of Preston and what's here. I always used to go to the Harris Museum, and I always loved the local history, and always felt kind of very proud of it. It's fantastic. It's the first time I've seen it, only a few seconds ago. So yeah, it's a great honour, and the people who put this together are very talented, and it's a great honour to have another float made by them.
We didn't know how to actually put these characters together, so we decided just on a cheese truck, which Wallace is sitting in, swatting a big fly that's going to eat his cheeses, and we decided to put Gromit in the driving seat of the car. The car actually was made over 25 years ago. It was originally made for the Adlington and Chorley Carnival, I think it was, by the apprentices from Leyland Motors at the time. It's been in a big dusty building for years, so we resurrected that as well. So we've recycled a lot of things to get this thing going.
People still travel from all over the world to return to their roots in Preston for the Guild. None more so than 95-year-old Mrs. Merrifield, who has travelled over 4,000 miles from Canada to attend her 5th Guild celebration, accompanied by her daughter, granddaughter and great-granddaughter.
Well, I think my first memory is Preston Guild in 1922, right? When my family were Unitarians, right? And the church processions wouldn't allow the Unitarians to walk with them. But my father was an odd fellow, and he said, well, if she's not allowed to go in the parade with the churches, she will go with the odd fellows. So he arranged for me to go on a float, and I was 6 years old when I went on this float, and I was dressed as an angel. You remember that? There were 5 of us on this float, a large angel in the middle, and then 2 smaller ones at each far side, and 2 small ones in the middle. And the cord broke, but we're tying us all together. And the large angel said, you have to hold hands, which we did. And as far as I can remember, it was a horse-drawn, and there were more cobble streets in those days than there were. But that's my first impression of the 1922 Guild.
Yeah, look at them. Yeah. Oh, look at, yes. They didn't have a video screen in 1922. No, they didn't have a video screen in 1920. Oh, look at people waving.
The churches of Preston and surrounding districts come together to parade through the city centre in the colourful Churches procession with fabulous floats and captivating costumes, weaving together the 6 Guild themes through the story of the living Christ. the heart of the Preston Guild is the traditional ceremony of the Guild Court, where the hereditary burgesses renewed their status. Although this is now symbolic, being a burgess of Preston is still considered to be a privilege, and around 750 Guild burgesses were admitted to the 2012 Guild Roll, the youngest being just 10 days old. Many burgesses travel from around the globe, returning to Preston to be part of a ceremony which is conducted in the same way today as it has been for centuries. The adjourned Guild Court is a second session of the historic Guild Court. At this ceremony, honorary burgesses are added to the Guild Roll. Traditionally, there are ex-mayors and Guild officials, but in 2012, for the first time ever, 20 people who have played a significant role for Preston, nominated by the public, were also admitted. Their names were added to the Guild Roll, and this privilege will pass down to their sons and daughters in the usual way. This historic occasion, again, took place within the Guild Hall, but was broadcast on big screens in Preston's Flag Market for all to enjoy. At the end of the ceremony, the Guild Court closes for the next 20 years. This is a splendid and poignant moment which serves as a reminder of the generational significance of Preston Guild.
The chair that they had for me, it was actually on casters. And every time I sat down on the chair, I got up and said a little bit, then I came back, sat down on the chair, and the chair had a life of its own, and it sat down and it whooshed me back. So I had to try and sort myself back out up to the table. But I think that's something we should take on board for the next time. Remember not to put the chair on casters.
A tradition started at the 1952 Guild, the international reception was an opportunity for ex-Prestonians and people from all around the globe with connections to Preston to enjoy an evening of nostalgia and fun, to meet the Guild Mayor and reminisce with friends old and new. Nostalgia's not what it used to be. Popular folk singers, the Horton Weavers, entertained the audience with their unique brand of Lancashire folk songs. Here, the returned Guild scrolls of friendship were displayed for the first time, along with the online scrolls.
Well, my name is Kevin Molyneux and I come from Preston, but I now live and I've been living in Sydney in Australia for many years. And I was in the Guild in 1952 as a little boy. I came 20 years ago and I thought I would come back because some of my family still live in and around Preston. And in 1964-65 my dad was the mayor and my mother was the mayoress, of course.
Balls are another great Guild tradition. One of the most prestigious events to take place was the glittering Guild Mayor's Ball. In a celebration of fine food and fantastic big band entertainment, 465 guests danced the night away, just as they have done in Guilds gone by.
We had the community procession that brought actually all parts of the community together. The schools who were heavily involved in it as well. And some of the floats that they designed were absolutely fantastic. It showed that they had pride in their own little part of the community, and they really did excel themselves.
Built on the success of the inaugural procession of 1992, the 2012 community procession saw the schools, sports clubs, charities, youth clubs, communities and the voluntary sector parade the streets in a kaleidoscope of colour and a bombardment of sound, celebrating diversity within the city. Over 8,500 people of all ages participated, and with an estimated crowd in the region of 35,000, the atmosphere was amazing.
I thought the Caribbean and stuff like that were great because they always thought having such a good time, you know, all the music and everybody dancing along with them. So, but the whole thing was really well done, really colourful. Yeah, it was just great.
obviously, it happens every 20 years. So we were a part of a very important event, both cultural and traditional, and we are very happy about that. For me, it was just being a part of it.
I like all the schools, like all the rainbow strings and all the children. And I like the cycling too. It was like the Olympics.
Sherwood School took part in the community procession to celebrate the fact that we are Prestonians and we're proud of being from Preston. We want to pass the legacy that we know about the Guild on to future generations.
It was really loud. Really loud. And it was fun because there were these two cannons which sprayed confetti out at us. And it was good, and we saw the mayor, so that was good. There were thousands of people and they were all cheering. Our parents were really proud.
We're Edith Rigby's, and Edith Rigby, obviously she was a famous suffragette that came from Preston. It's been a really special on this one, whether it's because, I don't know, what's it with the Olympics and the Jubilee, and it just seems to have come in the right year. The people made it, the people that were lying in the streets, it was fantastic.
The last of the 4 Guild processions, the Torchlight procession, traditionally draws the largest crowds. In 2012, around 70,000 people lined the procession route for a dazzling show of music, light and colour. The floats were brilliantly illuminated, lighting up the city streets, a truly mesmerising spectacle and a never-to-be-forgotten experience.
My first memory of Preston Guild was 20 years ago when I first moved to Preston, first came to Lancashire. So my school, Penwith Priory High School, was doing lots of things around the Guild, lots of different projects, loads of concerts and stuff like that. So that was the first time really that I would have ever sung in public. My first taste of singing would have been Preston Guild 20 years ago.
Choirs, singers and musicians competed in heats to win a place in the prestigious finals of the Young Choir, Young Singer and Young Musician of the Guild competition, arranged by the Harris Charity. Kirkham Grammar Junior School Vocal Ensemble were proud winners of the Young Choir of the Guild, whilst Olivia Singleton took the title of Young Singer. Andrew Rainish won the Young Musician of the Guild. The event was first created for the last Guild of 1992, and the winner, Jason Ridgway, later went on to be a finalist in the BBC Young Musician of the Year and is now a very successful pianist. Every guild tries presenting something outstanding that will be remembered for years to come. In 2012, the highlight for many was the amazing Proms in the Park, bringing together for a world's first the legendary operatic star Jose Carreras and world-renowned Welsh mezzo-soprano Catherine Jenkins. They headlined a magnificent one-off classical concert with Manchester Camerata Orchestra, conducted by David Jimenez Carreras. Pardon my Spanish, turning Avonham Park into a spectacular open-air amphitheatre, resulting in an atmospheric and unforgettable night of classical music and fireworks. For the younger generation who might be more into hip-hop than harps, the free G-Fest concert in Avonham Park played host to some of Britain's best R&B names, including Labyrinth, Stussy and Maverick Sabre, supported of course by the cream of Preston's emerging talent in an all-day music and dance festival.
I would say the thing about certainly sport in Preston from my point of view, I mean, you know, my dad played for Preston North End. I'm steeped in the sort of Preston North End Football Club tradition, Sir Tom Finney, etc. But I was also a mad cricketer as well, so big Freddie Flintoff fan as well. And I think people tend to forget, you know, the actual coverage you can get from sport for any city, any town, anywhere in the world. And let's be fair, through Sir Tom Finney, certainly through Andrew Flintoff, we've had fantastic coverage of Preston football and cricket. I think it's great.
2012 was a fantastic year for Great Britain. The Queen's 60th Jubilee celebrations in June and the London 2012 Olympics and Paralympics dominated headlines all over the world. There was also plenty of sporting activity in Preston. In recognition of Preston's outstanding record for sports development, the city was awarded by Brussels the official status of UK European City of Sport for 2012. More than 100 sporting events and activities were hosted, from local interclub tournaments to the first ever Guild Marathon, encouraging people from all ages and communities to enjoy sport at some level.
I remember the last Guild in 1992. I was at school, I was on a float going through the city centre, and not a lot of people know I was also in the choir in the Guild Hall. I'll never forget it because we got told not to move and the girl next to me wet her pants. It was a great night.
In June, Preston got pedalling as part of the calendar of sporting events in Guild year. Preston was one of 14 cities selected to host a Skyride cycling event. 7,000 cyclists, old and young, took to their bikes and cycled a specially designated route through the roads, cycleways and beautiful parks of Preston. The sporting theme continued as Preston welcomed the Olympic torch. Thousands lined the streets to watch a piece of history and share in the excitement of the games as the torch passed through the city streets, carried by the inspirational torchbearers. Prestonians had the chance to join in with a big dance, a celebration of Lancashire dance with a variety of diverse dance performances and over 250 dancers from across the UK, culminating in a mass dance performance on the Flag Market. The Olympics may have been happening down in that there London, but Preston's own Summer of Sport continued in July as Preston was the host city for the UK Corporate Games. During the three-day sporting festival, over 5,000 sport enthusiasts from local, regional and national business teams came together to compete in 22 different sports across a variety of the city's sporting venues. Preston is proud to have among our freemen of the city Nick Park, the Oscar-winning animator and creator of characters such as Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep. In tribute to local lad Nick and to add a fun twist to our guild sporting activities, Champion Sheep Live was brought to the Frenchwood area of Avon Park as part of the festival. Shaun the Sheep and friends entertained hundreds of families with some hilarious farm-themed sporting challenges, including the Naughty Pig Sack Race and Get Fit with the Flock Aerobics. I wonder what Preston the Bulldog thought of it all. Ruff! To celebrate Preston Guild and our designation as UK European City of Sport, a series of 4 running races took place between May and November. From a 5k and 10k event, there was an event for runners of all abilities, including a family fun run for those willing, but perhaps a little less able, like myself. The high point of the race series 2012 was undoubtedly Preston's first ever marathon. Over 4,500 runners flocked to Preston to run the full marathon or half marathon. Starting and finishing on the historic Flag Market, the marathon runners took in a wet but scenic tour of Preston's rural outskirts in what was a challenging but rewarding course, with live music playing in the city centre to keep the spectators and runners motivated. Who knows, perhaps one of the 11 to 17-year-olds who ran the 4.7 kilometres mini-marathon might well be the Guild Marathon winner of 2032.
I think the Guild marks stages in your life. The second Guild I remember was 1972, and I'd been an apprentice fitter working at Courtaulds, Preston, and I'd done A-levels at night school, and I was about to go to university. And that's the 1972 Preston Guild. Within a month I'd started a new life, which eventually took me to become a teacher, but eventually a writer.
To launch the Cultural Olympiad in the Northwest in March, Preston hosted the Global Rainbow, created by artist Yvette Mattern.
I describe it as monumental because it is on the scale of a real rainbow. And the lasers that we're using are high specification lasers, which are very, very powerful. Powerful in the sense of they're visible. Not so much, they don't cause any harm or anything like that, but it kind of draws from the land art pieces from the 70s that worked with the environment and created, like Dennis Oppenheim used to do, these kind of sky pieces with airplanes and things like that. For me, I think for any artist, it's like pure joy that there's an audience like that, you know. I mean, this piece is for everyone. It's not just for someone who happens to know that there's a great piece in that gallery or is only tied into contemporary art, or, you know, it's a kind of a pure public artwork.
These 7 parallel beams of laser light represented the spectrum of the 7 colours of the rainbow and dominated the Preston skyline for 4 nights in March. The lights created spectacular effects over the waters of Preston Docklands and Marina, where they began, but were visible for over 30 miles. The mass participation cultural programme for the London 2012 Olympics also closed in Preston, with We Play Expo part of the Guild City Festival on Miller Park in September. Although Guild events took place during most of 2012, throughout its long history, Preston Guild has always been focused on the first week in September. History dictates that the Guild Court must open on the Monday after the Feast of the Decollation of St. John the Baptist on the 29th of August. The timing of Guild Week has been the same for the last 450 years, since 1562. In 2012, however, the celebrations were extended to cover 10 days to mark 10 years since Preston became a city in 2002. A Guild Vintage Weekend was the highly anticipated opening event of the September Guild City Festival, a collaboration between locally born and now internationally renowned designers Wayne and Geraldine Hemingway and local creative individuals. They created a magical weekend of all things vintage, a glamorous wonderland of fashion, art, design, film, dance, music, shopping, makeovers and workshops. 80s pop bands Blancmange and Human League filled the Big Top as they closed the vintage weekend on the Sunday evening.
It's the end of, you know, probably the most momentous summer that Britain's ever had, 2012, certainly in my lifetime anyway. And Preston's done it proud. They've all come back to ours for what I consider to be as good as anything. We co-curated the Queen's Diamond Jubilee pageant for 90,000 people in Battersea Park early this summer. We played a big role in the Olympics, and this is as good as anything we've done this summer, and the people are as happy as anywhere. So we are over the moon, Brian, with it.
Well, I'm looking forward to kicking off my wellies this evening and perhaps being guided round the dance floor at the Spirit of 42 ball.
A highlight of the Vintage Festival saw the Big Top at Avonham Park transported back in time to 1942, the Guild that never was.
Good evening, sir. To the right, I can't remember.
At the Spirit of 42 ball, suitably attired guests delighted in a menu of ration books and homegrown food from celebrity chef Paul Heathcote.
Cooking the meal for the Vintage Ball was a bit of a challenge, really. Wayne had obviously, you know, wanted food that went with 1942, so we had to think about that. We had to do something that was from that era, and therefore it wasn't the best time for produce. So pea and ham soup, a steak pudding, cabbage and potatoes, and an apple and blackberry crumble, which would have been very seasonal at the time as well, was something that we just had to do, but do it well. So I think it worked.
A musical variety show hosted by Paul Casper, an uncannily convincing George Formby impersonator, and RAF Big Band, the new Squadronaires, gave the guests an opportunity to foxtrot the night away. During the Guild Festival, one of France's most exciting acrobatic circus companies, Company BAM, performed to the Big Top crowd's Switch, a circus act with a contemporary twist. The 5 artists captivated the audience with comedy, song and dance, alongside their unique blend of circus stills and acrobatics. Très bon! just as the first weekend of the Guild City Festival was all about looking back, so the final weekend was all about looking forward to the next generation and the next Guild. Dominated by the We Play Expo, which brought together the Northwest Cultural Olympiad programmes of Lakes Alive, Blaze and Abandoned Normal Devices, the entirely free Blaze Festival was programmed by a group of young producers who took the helm and delivered a programme packed with urban music, free running and dance.
Blaze itself is a 3-year project. So we've been around since 2010. It's a partnership between Lancashire County Council and Blackpool Council, and it's also a cultural Olympiad project. The whole kind of Blaze theme has been around looking at how can we bring art and sport together to create really, really interesting work. So we've done all kinds of wild and wacky things over the last 3 years, and it's all culminating here at Blaze Festival in Preston.
The artworks fused some of the Olympic themes and legacies from London 2012 with a broad spectrum of artistic media, creating a platform of provocative and challenging work that transformed the park into an outdoor gallery.
Well, I was walking around the park because my husband's working over there, and he told me about a stall or a stand who does strange hair designs. So we went over and they beckoned me in.
Some rather weird and wonderful hair creations could be seen wandering through the park. They had clearly been to visit Osadia and their amazing salon. Osadia are a street theatre company from Barcelona, creating brilliantly beguiling hair art. They drew in the crowds who were seduced by the imaginative theatrical appearances of the performers. An audience at the Guildhall were taken on a futuristic adventure in Metropolis. Set in the Preston of 2052, the show imagined Preston as a city divided by inequality, where the Guild became a symbol of hope and featured explosive music, vibrant dance and dramatic performance. Working with the Duke's Theatre from Lancaster and award-winning writer Lawrence Wilson, the show was devised by over 1,500 people through a series of workshops and was performed by over 50 young people from Preston, South Ribble and Lancaster. On the night shift was a dazzling combination of fire, light and percussion by French pyrotechnic wizards Les Commandos Percus, with specially selected dancers and drummers from the UK. Contemporary rhythms blended with spectacular pyrotechnic displays to bring to a close the Northwest Cultural Olympiad and the 10-day Guild City Festival celebrations with a bang, quite literally. The reason that Preston has the only surviving Guild celebrations is because people love it and want to get involved. Nothing exemplifies this better than the army of Guild volunteers, or Guilders as they're known, who played an invaluable part in making the Guild such a success. During the preparations and delivery of the Guild, almost 15,000 hours of volunteers' time, energy and skills contributed to supporting community projects, Guild events and to activities. The Preston Passion was another perfect example of the community coming together to put Preston in the spotlight. On Good Friday in 2012, the Preston Passion was broadcast live on BBC One from the platform of Preston's bus station. The show was an exciting combination of live performance and dramatisation. Themes of the Passion story were retold via 3 specially written short films inspired by the lives of true Preston people of the past through to the present, whilst 900 volunteers sang and performed, creating a very moving spectacle watched by 3 million television viewers. This event was later awarded a Royal Television Society Award for Best Live Event. Community-led events that are part of the annual events programme of Preston were made bigger and better in honour of Guild Year. Unfortunately, the weather in those early summer months was not quite as kind as it was during the main September festival. On Easter Monday, Avon Park upheld the long-standing Preston tradition of egg rolling. The grassy banks of Avon Park's natural amphitheatre make for the perfect egg roll. Not put off by the wet weather, eggs, painted or chocolate, were rolled by young and old alike. Live music, street theatre and the Easter bonnet competition attracted a record number of entries. Preston's Caribbean Carnival began when immigrants from the West Indies who had settled in Preston organised a small procession through a few streets. They begged, bought and borrowed a host of materials, carried costumes and steel drums, and now, 38 years later, it takes place every year. Brings the streets of Preston alive with non-stop drumming, pulsating music and outrageously colourful costumes. Spectators lined the route as the carnival procession wove its way through the streets before heading to the park for a live stage show of music and dance, bringing a touch of the Caribbean to the heart of Lancashire. Bring the weather next time. Mela is Preston's South Asian festival. Unlikely to happen in the hotter climates of its origins, the 10th annual Preston Mela was forced to make a last-minute relocation to the dry interior of the Guild Hall after persistent heavy rain in June. However, the transfer was a seamless one, and with unique shows and brilliant performances from local musicians, traditional and modern dance, Bhangra music, fashion, arts and crafts, and the finest South Asian food, Mela celebrated the heritage and culture of this diverse community and brought a touch of sunshine to an otherwise soggy Sunday. The Riversway Festival was first created for the Guild in 1992 and has brought the marina alive for 3 days of fantastic fun during July for the last 20 years. The weekend was a sunny one, which boasted over 60 guest boaters, the star being HMS Charger, which was adopted in a special ceremony by the Guild Mayor on behalf of the people of Preston, and then made available for public viewing.
5,000 people lined up on docks, watching the boat, watching the ship come in, and they're all cheering and the crew are absolutely astonished. I think it's so fabulous to see how the people of Preston respond to the services, the military services.
The busy programme included dragon boat racing, folk music, mind-boggling magic, a host of colourful characters giving impromptu performances as they wandered through the crowds. From singing fishermen to the quirky puppet fish sellers, this was a true celebration of maritime merriments and lots of fishy fun. Christians came together for an afternoon ecumenical service attended by many national representatives of Christianity and presented by radio and TV personality Aled Jones. 3,000 people filled the big top in Avon Park with a lively celebration in song coupled with a positive and affirming service.
We know how to party, and the people of Preston knew how to party, and they did that in the street parties.
In scenes reminiscent of great guilds gone by, many street parties took place around the city to celebrate Preston Guild Year. Families, friends and neighbours spanning the generations came together to eat, drink and be merry, creating a great sense of camaraderie and community. Save us a sausage roll.
This has been a fantastic experience. It's brought young and old together in this community. It's made people speak to each other, and I think, as you can see, it's been a huge success. It's been my first street party for the Guild, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
In 1992 we didn't have as many children, so it was a bit quieter. This one has certainly taken off. I think they said somewhere along the line we've got 150 people here today, and of course it hasn't got halfway through yet. We've got a big barbecue tonight which should go down very well. Children are certainly enjoying it. They're enjoying the Punch and Judy. Many of them didn't even know what a Punch and Judy was. But it was based around the children, I think, this afternoon more than anything, and it's come off very, very well indeed.
There were so many people, and they're so friendly, there's so much food, so much drink going around. As a mayor, you could die of being overfed, or you can end up a raving alcoholic. One or the other, because everywhere you go, people are so generous towards us.
Food fans of all ages were asked to bring an empty stomach and a full sense of adventure to the Square Food Festival as a fitting finale to August's Love Food, Love Preston month.
And it was great to see, 2 days of people literally being crammed in an area, all enjoying themselves, celebrating local suppliers and local food. And I think also the thoroughfare through to Avon Park, and all the events that were going on, it felt like a real city. It was great.
The Square Food Festival transformed Winkley Square into a mouth-watering destination for all things delicious. Some of Lancashire's most unique food and drink producers were carefully selected to exhibit their wares. Taste buds were tickled as thousands of visitors flocked to taste some of the county's finest foods and witness some captivating culinary events. One of the spectacles of the event was Cake City. Members of the public were invited to contribute to a city made of cake by crafting their favourite Preston building or landmark out of, that's right, cake. As Preston Cake City was assembled, a packed crowd drooled at over 200 kilos of cake. Around 2,500 slices were devoured by the hungry onlookers at the end of the festival. There was plenty for have-a-go gastronomes with live cooking demonstrations, baking masterclasses and food foraging along the River Ribble. A food adventure playground with the fishy quiz, Tuniversity Challenge, and an ostrich egg and spoon race provided fun for all the family. You need a big spoon for that, wouldn't you?
What we decided to do was to put a charity concert on, plus bring the chefs and introduce the foreign cooking to the people of Preston. And so far it's been very exciting for them.
Organising this guild has been absolutely tremendous. We've got, I think you heard this, we've got the 4 chefs, we've got the Cake City, I'm organising the bus station for the cake, but that's another story. And all in all, I think we've got an absolutely amazing weekend, and Preston should be, the 2 PPs should really mean proud Preston. I would really like to see some of the seeds sown continued. We've established a guild charity. Hopefully that will keep people coming together, making music, crocheting together, running together as they will in the guild marathon, volunteering together. I just hope that things that have happened during this past 2 years will continue all the way through to 2032.
In recent times, each guild has left behind a physical legacy. In 1972, it was Preston Guild Hall. In 1992, it left a piece of public art commemorating mill workers who had lost their lives after demonstrating against poor working conditions in Preston. The Guild of 2012 gave us the Guild Wheel, a fantastic 21-mile greenway that encircles the city, connecting cycle and walking routes and making it easy to enjoy some of the greener parts of Preston. The initial concept came from an idea from prominent Preston cyclist Peter Ward and was taken up by Lancashire County Council as their major contribution to the Guild.
We started the idea of the Guild Wheel just over 6 years ago, and we never really thought that today would come and that we'd achieve such a spectacular Guild Wheel. So we not only have to thank the County Council for just over £1.5 million donation and Preston City Council for their support, but the Guild Wheel User Group, that's a voluntary group who did it all in their own time for raising £650,000 in these difficult economic times from local businesses. And we have to say to all those businesses and agencies, including NHS, thank you very much for their valuable and much needed support.
The official opening created a day of walking events and a day of cycling events to promote the route to residents and to visitors alike.
As part of the Preston Guild, the Harris Museum and Art Gallery has produced a fantastic new history gallery called Discover Preston. This gallery showcases what makes Preston special, those unique stories like the Preston Guild that really are, what makes Preston. It also includes a fantastic new discovery room which showcases the wider history collections as well, and it's a great thing for the future.
It's amazing how quickly what was once a town can grow and change under the feet of its residents. The symbols and values of the past can easily be swept away by a fast-paced, forward-thinking city. Looking back, in order to take stock, the people of Preston safeguard what is important to them and are proud to commemorate Preston's heritage and historical importance. But an ever-changing and contemporary thinking Preston needs to look forward too, and the Guild Festival has to keep pace. Although the roots of the Guild are firmly planted in the business and the trade of the past, over the years the festival has evolved and is now a celebration of Preston as an important 21st century city, bringing its people together to throw open the doors, inviting the world all back to ours to experience the very best Preston has to offer. The Guild has ancient traditions and a modern approach, glorious sporting and cultural events and a blazing community spirit. We've now handed on the baton to the young people of the city. Who knows where they'll lead us for Preston Guild 2032.